By the way, when they gave my announcement, they said Chris Orenson, head of production, head of retail production. The head of production is coming up on stage now. Give a warm welcome to your Chief Production Officer, Mr. Kevin Peranio, KP.
Thank you, sir. All right. Testing. Oh, we're on. Hey, good morning. Afternoon. Anybody else try Hattie B's Shut the Cluck Up hot chicken? All right, we got some takers. Just tell you, the morning after, it really dries your mouth out. So bear with me here. That and being out till 4 a.m. All right, so what are we going to talk about here? We got some new people that are part of the PRMG family, and so welcome. This is a pretty awesome event. Good to see some familiar faces out here. For those on the East Coast, we succumbed. No more California trip, right? So we came here. Wow. What do you think, California? Should we go back? Oh, that was a pretty weak applause. Yeah. Looks like we're going to be either in Dallas or East Coast forever. Just not Vegas, which I've lobbied for very hard. I know. It's not going to happen. You can't go to Vegas because you guys will go out and tear down the town, right? But you won't do that in Nashville. It's open until 3 a.m. Anyway. All right, so we are going to talk about, bam, it's a big green button, that's what I was told. Okay. Compressing time, reducing friction, and scaling your business. I know we talk a lot about ROI at this company, and I'm pretty good at math. Like, I can look at a P&L, and I can do the math, right? And so, hey, here's where the revenue is. I got to do more loans to make more revenues, or here's my costs, which is eating into my revenue, and because of the Fed, there's a little less revenue than the last 2 years. It's what it is, right? So there's ROI, right? And we always look at everything in terms of dollars and cents. But we don't talk enough about time. And to me, time ROI is where it's at. And that's not to say you can't do both, right? I have this saying, I stole it from Good to Great, the book. It says the genius of the and. It's not work smarter, not harder. It's work harder and smarter. And you can be a money ROI and a time ROI manager. And everyone in this room is a manager. So we want to talk about time. And even if just you don't write down or don't like or don't resonate with anything I say, there's one takeaway. Just think about time often. When you go back to your teams and you tell them what you learned, I want you to think about time probably a little more than you do. Some of you already do this a lot. So compressing time, what do I mean by that? By the way, this isn't just about like technology, right? Chief lending officer means a lot of things. I mean, I got to help you, look at the P&Ls, right? Now, I don't have to because I got Paul, I got Chris, I got Gax, I got Steve, you got a regional manager, you got a branch manager. So for me to make the most of my time, do I need to do the same math, looking at your P&L with you? Absolutely not. And so that's something that we're going to talk about when it comes to compressing time. I don't need to spend 1 minute looking at your P&L. Plus, I'm the good guy because I'm never looking at your P&L. So, but how do you compress time? And how do you think of ways to reduce friction and at this platform, scale your business? Now, I know Chris touched on a couple different channel models out there. I have to play like Switzerland. I'm the chief lending officer. So I'm over all 3 channels. We do have a wholesale channel and a correspondent channel. And I have to help manage that channel as well. The management of that channel is completely different. And it's a completely different model. And I will tell you, I don't care what you see on social media. I don't care who came down to your neighborhood and threw a party. They're hurting. They're hurting, okay? So the broker channel shrunk in Q2, and it ain't even Q3 yet. They shrunk to 16%, okay? Purchase money business is in the retail distributed model where you own your own P&L and you're deeply rooted in your community and you develop business one relationship at a time at scale. You can only do that at a distributed retail channel at scale. It may not happen in the next 6 months. It may take a little longer. This is part of the cycle. There are factors we don't control. Justice and I were just talking. If you don't follow Justice on LinkedIn, he put out an awesome mindset. He said, hey, maybe this is just for me, mindset video. But I don't care about the economy, don't care about the Fed, don't care about my margins, don't care about, it's like, I just want to control what I control in the way I attack every day. And so when you're talking about scaling your business, reducing friction and compressing time, you have to go in with a positive mindset. This leadership conference is going to be not only the best one that you've ever had, but probably the best one put on by any company in this industry. And I'll tell you why, because I go to all the trade shows, I go to all the conferences, I'm behind the scenes with all the groups, I'm on all the texts. They don't do the shit that we do at PRMG, period. All right. Let's talk about compressing time. Like it took too much time to get to the first slide. Okay. So to kind of make that leap from ROI, from money versus time, one way to think about that, and this is not like a Gordon Gekko, greed is good kind of way, but time is money. Time is money. It's okay to say that. It's okay to say time is money. I didn't do that, I promise. It's okay to think of time as money. Every waking minute on this planet, you could be making money with that time. It's up to you whether you do or not. And I'm not saying BKP and get way out of work-life balance and be all about work and then just on the weekend show everybody on Instagram how cool dad you are when you really only see your children like a few hours a week. You don't need to do that, okay? You don't need to sleep 4.5 hours a night, okay? You don't need to be out till 4 in the morning, which I had fun. I mean, I enjoyed being with my teammates. We had a good time. It was a worthy investment of my time. I didn't necessarily make money. I spent some money, but I made some great relationships. We ate hot chicken together, right? So time is money. So if you're trying to think of how you think of time, and you're making that leap as a manager, and you're trying to tell your team how to manage ROI, time is money. Now, time is a depreciating asset. We all know that. We only have so many hours on this planet. The sad thing about that, in that deterioration of time, you don't know when it's going to end, right? So it happens. It's part of life. We get a little older, a little less sharp, and that's okay. But there are ways to cheat that with experience. And this room is experienced. And I think we're all experienced enough to know that time is a depreciating, deteriorating asset. If you manage that asset properly while you have it, then when you start to notice that, hey, you know what, maybe I can retire at some point. Maybe I can let this pipeline or database or community of people that just know me over time, I'm good, my expenses are good, my finances are good. I now want to reinvest my time in my family or whatever my hobby is after going hardcore here at work. I can do that. I can recognize that. But we all do recognize that time is a depreciating asset. So when you're in peak time management, peak mode, manage it at peak elite level performance. Okay, we're going to talk about multiplying your time. I'll try and give you an example. We've all been producers where we just processed our own loans, right? Because, I don't need to pay a processor. I can just do it myself. Okay? You know how long it took you to process that loan? Did you ever write down? Did you count the hours that you worked to process that loan? Why would you not have a processor? Unless you don't want to scale, which again, that's a life business decision. But that's just an example of multiplying your time. What if you had 20 LOAs? Could you multiply your time? Paul Lucido likes to say, many hands make light work. So imagine if you use those many hands on your team to multiply time for you and you worked harder. You could really scale your business. So, I know Carl White talks a lot about this stuff, and there's a lot of coaches out there that talk about getting an assistant or, pay extra for that assistant. It does matter, but that's how you multiply time. And that's just a simple way to go back to your teams. Maybe it's a shared LOA amongst the team. Maybe there's some duties there that you can break up. And so we'll talk about those duties here in just a second. All right, I swear I'm pressing the button. Guess it just doesn't work. Okay. This is the last slide on compressing time. So, do you know how many hours you work? Does anyone here know how many hours they work? Raise your hand. Okay. So, that's good. Maybe this will resonate. I have a Whoop band, and it tells me where I am and how much I work and how little I sleep and how little I exercise. And then, and when I get terrible sleep, it sends me an article and says, do you know how bad alcohol is for you for your restorative sleep? But we don't need all that. And I'm not promoting a drinking culture. I'm just saying this is what it does for me. But how many hours, I feel attacked, right? Do you know how many hours you work? Do you know how many hours you work? Do you know how much you get paid per hour or per loan? I mean, again, this is not a knock on the P&L management. Like, I work so much, I do so many loans, this is what we did this month, and this was the revenue, and these are my expenses. Oh, didn't make enough. Okay, well, let's cut out this $80 line item. Get the fuck out of here. That's like a tiny little thing. Like, really? Focus on the revenue line and how many hours it takes for you to create more revenue. How many hours do you work per loan? How many hours do you work every day? Your team. Multiply your team. We have reports for years. You could see how many hours your processors work per file and per funded file. We have that data for you. It's in there. I don't know if anyone's opened that up, but you could see there's actually data that Gary and his team, Gary Mouse and the team, already have for you. There's a report. Like, a lot of times, you could see how long a file took. And it was fun when this report first came out, like 5 years ago, and it was like, yeah, underwriting just took so long, and we're always rushed here at the end. I pull up this chart. It's like a little pie, and the huge section is like 35 days in processing. And I'm like, what'd you do for 35 days? Right? So, again, time management, you can do that. And we actually have data that tracks that. We have data and reporting to track your time management. It's readily available. So do you think about comp plan changes in average loan size? Okay? We talk about compressing time. And the reason why I bring this up is I have this saying right now. It just sounds kind of cool. I don't know if it's actually accurate. But I say we're all working twice as much for half as much money than last year. It's just what it is. I mean, rates hit historic highs. They peaked June 13th. We may retest that high again. But our lock pipeline fell out. I mean, we had the best May we've ever had as a company. June was pretty good. You may have felt that or not. Spring purchase season. First 6 months of the year, we were profitable as a company. We didn't have to sell servicing to do it. And then the locks fell out. And July kind of sucked. And August was a little bit worse. Maybe not for you, but just in general. And just so you know, that's the entire industry, right? And nobody's bigger than the industry. Not one company, probably not even the top 10 companies. They will get swallowed up in a heartbeat if they want to fight the Fed. Nobody is bigger than a $2 trillion industry. So when it comes to that, and we're working twice as hard for half the money, you can work for 4 times as much for the same amount of money. Unless you compress time and multiply a force multiplier with your team to give you more time to create more revenue per loan, which, by the way, with larger loan amounts, you're making more on a dollar basis than you did. I would venture to say, this is just a stab, but it's in the last 3 years, maybe 4 years, okay? We'll just say 4 years. The loan amounts have doubled. Your average loan amount has generally doubled in your market, okay, in 4 years. Or your home values, right? Maybe it's not quite that much. Have you changed your comp once in 4 years? Now, I'm not saying to. I'm just saying, think about what has happened in the market. Now, obviously, we have all these tools. We've got price concessions. We've got AFS. And we got caps. I'm not here to preach that. I'm just saying, when you think about how much you get paid per loan, how many hours you work per loan, how many hours you work, don't forget about that piece of math there on how large your loan amounts are and what's the dollar amount you want to take home as a target. And I'll give an example. I know a guy that flipped over to the broker channel, and he was at a 2-point comp plan. He's a 125 now. He's a 125. You think when you walk into a realtor's office and go, oh, look at my website. I've got the best pricing in town temporarily, which, by the way, Navy Federal Credit Union has the best pricing in town, or City National Bank, or Union Bank, right? So there's always a best. It's not the soup du jour. But that person works for 125. Are they doing 75% more loans now? Even 50%? Absolutely not. They took a pay cut because they didn't value their time, and they didn't manage their time properly, and they didn't go for time management. They went for price. And that's a pogo stick, and it never lasts. And I'm not saying that there aren't challenges with price. I get it. Like, it's a challenging time to have this team, right? To have this team built up and this leadership and this support. It isn't always in favor when a market compresses like it did. And that's okay. I think between now and February are the roughest part of the cycle. That's my opinion. I'm just a guy that reads a shitload of magazines and subscriptions, but I think between now and February will be the roughest part. I think the market will give back in February as spring purchase season starts to pick back up. I think the Fed isn't going to endlessly do 75 basis points over and over and over. They're probably going to do one more in a couple weeks and probably not another 75 basis point. That's step one of a Fed pivot. Step two is an actual pause, and 3 is when they cut rates, which could happen by July of 24. I don't know. The market will get back to us. The market, no matter what rates are doing, will get back to us, I believe, in February, because we're a purchase money lender. But you have to be mindful of these average loan sizes and how it matches up with your hourly workload, how much you get paid per hour, how many hours it takes per file, and then on the revenue side. And by the way, just saw that Rocket Mortgage announced, $715,000 conforming loan amount? So they're going to roll that out. Now, we're probably not going to roll it out like today. We're going to look, there's a security that has to trade in December or later, which is when you can actually deliver to the GSEs. We were pretty early to the game last year. But think about that in this math. We might be looking at a $715,000 conforming loan limit. That's a pretty significant jump compared to where we're at today. That will make you think, and that will change the math on how you compress time and calculate your worth. And let me say one last thing about your worth. You don't have to work for less. You don't have to work for less. I said this at President's Cabinet last year. Going to a lower price model means working for less. You don't have to do that. You have value. You have value. Your time is valuable. You don't have to work for less. Value your experience. Your clients do as well. Pricing in our model, we start with where we value you. You and your branch manager, you all start together and your team at a certain level in your MSA. You have chosen your value proposition. You have to deliver on that value. But if you start here and work your way back, that's okay. You may have to do that on a deal here and there. But your value is not starting here at a max 275 comp plan and then getting paid below that. That is not your value. That's a value of a low-cost, commoditized, tech-driven model. And that's not who we are. We help put people in houses. And we do some stuff that people don't do. And by the way, just to tease it up, I'm sure we've all heard this, we have an I-10 bar program coming out. Tax ID number bar coming out. Those aren't going to be easy deals. There's going to be a lot of manual work there. There's going to be a lot of building in your community. Speaking a language to someone that will feel like they know, like, and trust you. That's not a commoditized loan. That is building a first-time home buyer and then shepherding them through generational wealth. And someone who just got here, by the way. Pretty cool. So those are things that are very valuable. That's the kind of stuff that we do. In addition to A-Paper, we still do a ton of A-Paper business. But don't devalue yourself, because it is a never-ending zero-sum game. You work for a bank, you work for probably more than half, less of what most of your LO's comp plans are. Don't devalue yourself. We're not greedy either, by the way. We're not the worst price. We don't have the highest LO comps. I feel like we're pretty Goldilocks. Do not devalue your time and your worth by going low cost. That's not who you are, and that's not who we are, and that's not what our first-time home buyers deserve. They deserve your treatment and your expertise, and that's worth something. Don't devalue yourself. Reducing friction. This is where we kind of get into technology, right? So every task is a friction point, and it's important. And I'm not trying to talk about Taskmaster as if it's a bad thing. We have tasks to do. It's a task-driven business. We try and automate a lot of those tasks. We feel like we're pretty cutting edge when it comes to automating a lot of that stuff. I do feel that our company is in that nimble, agile stage where we can create scalable tools that will automate certain tasks without devaluing the originator. So when I talk about tasks as a friction point, it's every little thing. I say this over and over, and I'm just going to continue to say it until everyone is 100% on board. Taking a loan application over the phone is a waste of your time. You've got to use tools like Blend. I'm not here to peddle Blend. I don't care whether you use Blend or not. Sitting on your phone and going through every single question. Are you a co-endorser on a note? Have you had a bankruptcy? How many dependents do you have? What are their ages? Send them the link. They're going to fill it out. They're going to give them, hey, you know what? Hey, do as much as you can. Let's schedule a time to get together, right? Maybe it takes you 3 minutes right now to do a loan app. But using a tool like Blend, maybe it takes you an hour. But maybe using something like Blend, it takes you 30 minutes. Or maybe it takes you 20. And your processors down the line save hours of time. Then you've compressed time, multiplied time. Now you can 2x, 4x, 10x your business. Please stop taking loan applications over the phone. You're just too good for that. And by the way, your clientele, the first-time home buyer, is a millennial. They don't want to talk to you. Okay? I mean, we've been joking for years. Oh, my kids at Thanksgiving, I can't even get them to, not look up from their phone. They don't want to talk to you and take the phone app either. Like, that's the same line of thought. You even say that joke. It's don't want to talk to you over the phone unless you're providing value. Send them the link, schedule the time, get back, spend less time. You go, okay, hey, Kevin, I see you have 4 children. They're 3, 5, 7, and 9. See, I already knew that because they filled it out before I got the app. And then I got to think, okay, you know what? Mariners Elementary is a pretty good public school. You're going to pay a little bit too much in taxes.